A lot of y'all asked, how can you help support the Backyard Gardens podcast? Well, we have been busy and we have created a t-shirt line just for the gardener.
To visit our shop, go to the link in the show notes and check out the t-shirts and other goodies we have.
Now, these are super special t-shirts designed just for the gardener, so enjoy. Thank you for supporting the Backyard Gardens podcast, and we'll see you guys after the harvest. As much as we hate to admit it, we have made a bunch of mistakes in our garden, and today we're going to tell you all the mistakes, all of them, every single mistake that we ever made in our gardens. Well, maybe just a portion of them, but stay tuned right here to the Backyard Gardens podcast, the mistake version.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening and give the information out for you to be successful in your garden, whether it's your first or your last. We are your hosts, Ben, the backyard gardener, and
Batavia, the front yard gardener.
one in the country,
One in the city.
Now get ready as we dig deep into this wonderful world of gardening as we learn to grow and grow for change. All right, Batavia, it's time for you to go out and take your dirty underwear and your dirty socks and put all your dirty laundry out on the line for everybody to see. That's what this episode's all about.
I'm going to need the children to cover their ears. So if anyone's been listening, you know I've been out of socks for a while. And I'm just going to say, are you making an assumption that I still have on underwear? I don't know.
You know, that was last year. That was the pandemic, okay? We're coming out of the pandemic now, so everybody put your undies on.
There was a shortage on underwear last year, so I had to make do.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a true story here. When David went back to school last year, we literally had to fight to get him to wear underwear because he got so used to not wearing it. And my wife, she does the laundry. She won't let me do the laundry. And she goes, I've been playing a game for the past 3 months, and the record for both of you combined for a week of laundry is 2 pairs of underwear total. And I was like, well, it's pandemic. She thought it was funny, but now we're all back to normal. Mm-hmm. We're wearing underwear and socks. Well, I'm not wearing socks now because it's getting warm. Mm-hmm. But enough of the potty discussion.
Yeah.
So before we get started, I just want to ask everybody, if you could, please leave us a review, a comment. Check us out on our YouTube, Backyard Gardens, or our Instagrams. All the links are below, and we have t-shirts available, so help support the podcast. Are you ready for our comment and a slight discussion?
Let's get ready to rumble. I don't know. There's not really a fight here, but
no, this is all good news.
Mm-hmm. There's no garden therapy. I'm not crying. I'm just going to get out here, tell you where I've effed it up, tell you if I continue to F it up or if I've learned, right?
Well, we're going to start with this listener comment to kind of set the stage for us and kind of put you into the space too.
Okay.
So,
because I'm amped, man. I'm leaning in.
I know you are. And because you got a little chill last night. So,
listen, I'm just saying, I try to be very transparent. So I actually look forward to an episode where we can talk about, things that didn't quite go our way.
Oh, yeah.
So there's learning to be had.
I do it every single day.
But get to the listener.
Right, here we go. Listener comment today. Hi, my name is Brooke, and I absolutely adore you guys and your podcast. Well, thank you, Brooke. So sweet of you.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you for being so real. It's my favorite thing. I am at 8,000 feet. That's where I live, 8,000 feet. Mm-hmm. And we don't really actually have a last frost date. It could freeze or snow any night of the year. You can't grow tomatoes or basil without a greenhouse, but the cold season crops love it here. And I sow all the brassicas direct in March, and they still get snowed on for months and are very happy and couldn't care less. It's actually snowing today. I built a lean-to greenhouse for my porch, so that's where everything else lives right now. Thank you guys for making me smile every day. Well, first of all, Brooke, it is our pleasure to make you and everybody else smile, if that is even possible, especially if you don't ever have a last frost date. I mean, damn. So first of all, And this is what I said to her. So you're the person on the back of the directions of the cooking that says above elevation, use this temperature. So first of all, that's good. But she sent pictures of her garden.
Okay.
And if you want to scroll down, you can see them. Batavia, I gave you that.
Before I look at the pictures, I don't normally say this, but Brooke, you're my favorite listener. Just, sorry. I'm just, listen, sometimes we have to make choices in our lives, and here we are.
Well, and just to kind of state it even more, she goes on to say that she's grown in many climates from zone 10 in Florida, which in Southern California to North Georgia. And she met little old men in overalls with huge gardens. And one man actually had a mule that plowed his rows with.
So sometimes it's not the words. It's like literally the pictures are like, I'm teary-eyed. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And so as she goes on and says, she's big into preserving, and it's a challenge to do it where she is, but they have, we have a battle axe lady who leads our high altitude garden in Colorado group. She laughs in your face if you ever refer to what is used to grow wherever you came from.
Boo for her. She's absolutely not my favorite gardener. That group
the battle
leader.
axe.
Yeah.
But, it's cool because, somebody who's, dude, think about if you can grow anything, anytime in Florida, and then you go all the way there and you might never get above freezing.
Yeah, but you know what? In all fairness, that's a part of the challenge that you and I talk about offline, right? Like, so we're fortunate enough to have people listen across the U.S. and other countries. And these zones, these climates, these areas are very different for some of us. So, I'm glad that we're able to entertain and or help. Minimally, I'm glad she sent pictures.
Yeah. No, she sent a bunch of pictures and they're awesome. I would love to share them all, but, I don't want to share family pictures and stuff like that. But, there's piles of harvest in the pictures where they are, working through the harvest and doing stuff. And it's just a testament to how much gardens touch people's soul and how important they are, to where it's like, I might never get a freeze, but I'm gonna plant no matter what. And I'm gonna find something to plant. And they do that.
It's awesome. Just one more note for me. It's impressive, kind of gardener's resolve, right? So I give you a hard time all the time, but to come from zone X to zone, Y, where you are now, was it Massachusetts you were in, and now in North Carolina? Those are different worlds for gardening. So, and Brooke is clearly taking her garden road and family on the road, right? So to be able to say, all right, I'm still into gardening, I'm going to make the adjustment, because it truly is an adjustment. So bravo to you both. Anyone else out there that's doing that?
I would say that I would have to have a heated greenhouse if I lived at 8,000 feet.
Brooke's still my favorite though, but kudos to you guys if you're doing it. These are weekly favorites. It's not a forever favorite, just so we're clear.
I was say you're cheating on a bunch of people right now because you've had a bunch of favorites.
No, it's weekly. This is today's.
I thought I was your favorite, so we'll have this conversation offline.
You're my favorite podcast buddy.
Well, that's bullshit. You only have one.
It was an easy decision.
But no, it's cool, man. Thank you so much for sending that in. Thank you for the nice comments. But seriously, thank you for showing us that, even though Batavia cries, that she's still getting chilly weather, and that I'm going to get tomatoes in June, and she's upset about it. That's heresy.
Yeah, so, the amount the impact, the ability for you to change my mood in a matter of seconds. I was just leaning in and so of course there's some pictures that I'd consider private where we won't share pictures of to the audience, her kids or anything, but there's some other good pictures in there. But I appreciate her sharing them with us because it's really nice to be able to see just a glimpse inside of their world. Yeah, man, it looks like a lifestyle. All right.
Yeah. All right, so we good?
Yeah, we're going to move on from happy to
sad.
Yeah.
And I just want to reiterate that I am going to get a tomato in May.
Yeah, I heard you.
I know. I just want to say it again because I'm actually pretty happy about it. So you just let me have my moment.
I'm happy for you.
Along with my zucchini, because the little bastard, I beat him.
It was earlier, right? That was the goal, to plant it earlier.
I planted that bitch early, so at least I get one. Now I have to keep him at bay. But hey, this is the first step in the war.
Yeah.
The first battle of the war.
Well, listen, I really want to be supportive. But if you're going to talk about this in every comment, if you're going to say it in every episode, like at some point, this is going to run its course. So I'm proud of you. Great job. You know, June is right around the corner. You're going to get tomatoes for June. There's a bale. All right.
Okay. I'm sorry, ma'am.
No need to be sorry. Be sorry the next time you mention it and when I'm over it.
No. So I saw that, and seriously, though, I saw your post with all of your seedlings, and they are looking mighty strong, though.
Listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate you because without this podcast, I wouldn't have been obedient around fertilizing. So I'm going to go back to that's the reason why those tomato seedlings look as strong as they do. There's some that are at varying sizes. There's a whole story around that. Maybe I'll tell it in our May or our June update, which is coming up next week. But they're looking good. And that may be the only kind of nightshade that I have in my garden. Yeah. Stay tuned for that.
Well, and seriously though, I know I've kind of been giving you a hard time about my tomatoes, but I got my tomato seedlings really big before I put them in. Like I just kept potting them up, kind of like yours are.
Yeah.
And it took no time for them to take off because usually it is mid-June before I even start thinking about a tomato. And this year I'm way ahead, and that's just, I fertilized and I went hard this year on them.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to be in the same boat. You're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
And how many plants is it right now?
So we were talking about mistakes, yeah?
No, how many plants?
No, I heard your question.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We're going to move right along. There are a bunch. I think it's like 13 or 14 varieties.
Okay, hold on. Let's go to our break, and then we'll come back because I just got the evil eye, and we'll continue the conversation.
Sounds good.
Since you're listening to this, then something tells me you like to cook.
Hey, y'all. Miss Gardner and I have been busy whipping up some food in the backyard kitchen.
Check us out as we grow some of our ingredients.
But most importantly, we just try to get the recipe right. Available now on YouTube at Backyard Gardens.
Remember, if you grow it, we will cook it or can it.
So that went right over my head like a rocket ship.
You know how you're like, there's no dead air in podcast world. I own that dead air. I need you to pick up on it so we can move on.
Because I was like, what? But anyways, all right. So we've made mistakes. We've done things. Everybody starts somewhere, and even as you progress and get farther wrong, we still get things wrong. So, what have you done? What have you just like totally screwed up in your garden?
I think I'll start with planting things out of season, and that's really broad, right? So just because I have garden space, the idea of putting, we talk about this a lot, putting lettuce in the garden in July. There's not a lot of lettuce that survives, starting in July. Really not doing the research to say, just because it's in a store, just because I could start it, does it really, even on the back of the package, it's giving you some nudging, like, some of them say April through May and, August through September. Here I'm in July, like, it's almost August. It was just, May a little while ago.
Yeah.
And so that's wasting space in my garden because I'm kind of, putting aside, all right, that's where I'm going to grow that lettuce as an example. Energy, water, right? I think it's just not being, not researching what should grow when. And I think there's a little bit, there's a little bit of give there, but there's some things that it's just, it's not reasonable to try in certain areas at certain times.
No, I did the lettuce thing too, because as most people, I believe, they enjoy eating a good salad in the summertime. And the fact of the matter is, honestly, we shouldn't be eating salad in the summertime. But I never put two and two together.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me. And maybe it's just, again, it's the way that we've kind of cultivated things. Like salad isn't warm, right? You know, meaning like it doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. It's something that's light is the way that it's kind of been positioned, you know? And so absolutely do want it in the summer, you know, like a big salad and a margarita. Like that's the way, well, maybe that's probably not the way to go.
Yeah, that's not the way to go.
You know, at a rooftop bar. Yeah. So yeah, but I have done some heat tolerant versions last year, and I think I ended up planting them like in June, and they made it a while, but nothing like what we have in the spring or the fall, you know. So
I have some heat tolerant versions that I have planted as well. So we will see. This is the first year I'm really playing with heat tolerant.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But no, I think that's very common, and I think it's important, you know, and that's why we talk so much about, or first of all, that's why I practice seasonal eating. And second of all, that's why we talk about seasonal gardening too. I mean, is that a term? Seasonal gardening?
Bill just indicated it is.
Coined it. So, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to be much help on this one because I've never made a mistake. So, you know.
Oh, don't worry. I can fill up the next hour for us. It's all good.
Yeah. No, you know, my big thing when I first started was overcrowding. That was and I'm talking about like way overcrowding.
Yeah.
So, it was hard for me to visualize when I put a seedling in the ground that it's going to grow to be 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, tomatoes was a big one. I remember one year that everything grew so dense that I did not actually get any production because everything was stressed so hard. So, you know, and then I've done that with beans. Actually, I still do it with beans and peas. Still. So this year I'm doing a little bit extra spacing. Anything that trellises, I seem to pack in pretty hard.
Yeah, I've made that mistake year over year, you know. Yeah. So
I think it's something we're all going to always struggle with. But I remember in the beginning, I would go, like the year that I finally caught on, I had to end up taking half of my plants out of the garden in order for them to work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we kind of, you know, we talk about this a bit. There are guidelines. Like I know there are other guidelines of packaging, you know, square foot gardening works in a lot of cases, not all, right? You know, I believe in a lot of the recommendations, not all of them. I think pictures are a real good source for you. Pictures of other people's gardens, but really pictures of your own, because we get very hopeful in our gardens. And again, I've made this mistake year over year. If you look back at pictures last year, you can see the plant when it's thriving and how big it is. And that can help guide you in, no, you actually shouldn't be putting 2 plants in that space. Now, the other side of it, though, is sometimes I do try to push the envelope, right? Sometimes I do intentionally try to plant things, you know, kind of, I wouldn't call it overplanting, but close together. But I'm always trying to manage disappointment. So, you know, you want to balance, you know, or do you want to go ahead and do that garden experiment and potentially face some disappointment, you know, or follow along what the package says? Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it's hard when you're putting a seed in the ground to put one seed every 2 feet. You know, because at that moment you're like, what the hell? There's nothing, you know, I don't have anything in my garden. And then when it all blooms, you're like, oh, I got it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know,
that's a hard one.
My least favorite is when they say start off with planting every foot. Let's see, every foot. Then they say come back in and thin. So it's, you know, no, actually it's the reverse. Plant them every 6 inches, but then thin them so they're 1 foot apart once they start growing. And you know, I'm not trying to do that kind of work, you know.
I did that this year with carrots. I went through and, you know, I went out there and I laid down on the ground and I went through, because, you know, I planted a couple hundred carrots and I just snip. But I will say, because last year I had issues where because a lot of places like you plant them every 2 inches apart, 3 inches apart, and that's not the case. You can't do that because you want your carrots to get some size. Yeah. So I had to space them out a little bit, and it's just thinning sucks. And it doesn't really hurt my heart to thin things. I don't care about that.
The seeds are so small too, so it's not as easy to plant them specifically. No, it hurts my heart, and I know it hurts my heart. It's so funny because if I drop a seed, like on the table or something, I don't spend a whole lot of time looking for it. But if I have a seed that's been planted and it's germinated, I feel like that it's so wasteful to throw it away. So anytime I actually do commit to thinning, I am replanting. And even if those things don't make it, I feel like I've done my best to give them a chance. Right. But that's, again, work that I really don't want to do.
Well, and I just did a video. It should be out right now about, trimming pepper plants.
Mm-hmm. I saw it,
and it's another one.
Oh, okay.
And I was pulling out one of my seedlings that I started. I had 3 plants growing out of it, and I just pulled out my scissors and snipped off fairly good sized plants off of it. And I thought to myself, "You're a cold-hearted bastard. You just cut that off and didn't even think twice." But the reason why is because I know that when I do that, that plant will actually survive and do better. And it does make a big difference. And I think that's the key to it, is knowing what it will do. And then it makes it a lot easier to do those things.
There's a certain level of confidence that you have as a gardener for that. I am pretty almost with all plants. There are 1 or 2 like indoor plants where I'm like, a renegade with it. I don't think twice about it. There are a couple where it's like, I found one today that I've been looking for more than a year. I already have one, but I really, really love it. And I've been looking for it for more than a year. And so since I haven't been able to find it, I've been very I've babied it. It's like, all right, I really should be, pruning this, but no, don't take any chances. But everything else, I'm generally like, okay, because houseplants are a little bit different. You basically have all of that year. There's a growing season for them, but you have all of that year. For me and for many others, when it comes to the garden and vegetables in particular, there's a small window here, right? Even if you look at the particular season, there's a small window for summer. There's a small window for fall. There's a small window for spring. So I always have that feeling of you got one shot at it, which isn't necessarily true.
Uh-oh.
Excuse me.
There we go. Bless you.
Bless me. He does. Thank you. All right. So, I'm up next. It's regarding container gardening. So not really planning for proper watering, right? So I won't say big into container gardening, but I enjoy it. And there's like the secret challenge of what's the smallest container you can plant in. It's like, look at this pea cup and I have a whole, watermelon plant in here, right?
Right.
But realizing that takes effort to make sure that all of those things are watered properly. And it's something I continue to kind of fine tune to make sure you aren't just rinsing out all the nutrition, in those pots. Yeah. It becomes a real chore depending on the pot size you're using, depending on what you're growing inside of it. I've grown food in containers for a number of years. I've never seen an earthworm inside of a container. I'm sure it happens, Yeah. I'm sure a bird is like, all right, I got two worms for snacks and drops one, But I say that to say, like, there are things that aren't necessarily natural when it comes to growing food in the ground, or in a container compared to in the ground, right? So you have to kind of compensate for that, and you put all of that together. And sometimes it sounds great at the beginning of the season, but midway through the season, I'm just kind of like, all right, enough already. Yeah. So it's almost like that your eyes are bigger than your stomach kind of thing.
Yeah, I've maxed out my containers for flowers and stuff this year. I realized I had to put a limit on it, and I said, these are the pots I have. This is it. No more. So, but I would like to do bigger pots because, like, here, the watering is a real issue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the only balance or challenge I have with bigger pots are obviously space. Right. But then I have a couple of tricks, but it's the amount of soil that you need to add to that pot for it to
Right.
really benefit you from, a watering perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, I need the biggest pots you can get, so. And the further south, it's even more. But I use small pots like an idiot. So I'll be watering every day.
Yeah, man.
Every day.
Because some of them are, I know this isn't your thing, but some of them are so cute. I just, from a decorative perspective, I enjoy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got one like that. I hate it though, but it's so small. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll use it. So, no, that's I think that's a common mistake too. You want me to tell you my next one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
It's pretty bad.
No.
When I first had my first garden, I was under the impression that no bug needed to be in the garden.
Oh.
So I went ham on anything that moved, other than worms and bees and stuff. But anything that you just didn't know what it was, I went after. And I went after it hard. Like, the first year, that's what I did. So there was, I was successful. I had no bugs. I had no damage. I had food, but it was, it wore me out.
Yeah.
So, and I've grown a lot since then. And now I'm the total opposite. I don't do anything until I see damage.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way, but it's out of me being lazy. Versus, me being a conscious gardener. Yeah, that's actually, I've seen that because I'm in various garden groups, some of them just for kind of browsing, some of them for, engaging. And there is daily across groups a picture of what is this? What do I do? And there's a theme behind it that kind of says, is it good? Is it bad? Right. Which I can appreciate. But generally there's the whole, I need to get this stuff out of it. Like, this is disgusting. And we've talked about this before. There are a lot of good insects and bugs and things, beneficial,
way more good.
Than bad. So I think that is a good tip that kind of combats that mistake. But you got to be diligent in making sure that you're doing that garden walk, that you're going to observe if there's damage. So that's the issue. You can't see that thing and you're like, oh, I'm going to leave it. And then you come back a week and it's like, oh shit. So make sure you're keeping an eye on things.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is, and I see it a lot, is, the same thing as you. Is it good? Is it bad? And the thing, look, let's be straight up. Bugs are icky. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really scared of bugs, but I don't want them to jump on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't like the fast ones, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want anything to jump on me, so it doesn't matter what it is. But, I mean, it is a very common theme to see, and it's like, I got to get rid of it. What do I do? What do I do? Oh my gosh, like total panic, freak out. And the thing is the bugs are going to be there. You're creating an ecosystem inside of your garden. There's going to be thriving insects and beneficials and bads and all these other things, predators and all that. So, just I would say just relax when it comes to the bugs. You know what I mean? Because don't be like me when I first started. Just go out there and just start spraying. I mean, I might as well had a gas mask on. I was out there handling business.
Yeah.
But, it is. And look, please, people, you are welcome to send a picture and ask a question about a bug, but please get a damn clear picture of it, full-bodied, clear, not blurry, not with a grubby fingernail in the way or anything. Just take a picture. I get a lot of pictures like that, and
And that's a hard one too, because first observe the bug, because I don't want you dropping your phone when that bug hops. Like, see how it's moving around before you try to take a picture of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because so looking at the bugs can look different depending on where they are too. So it's difficult. And if you want to get help, you got to have a clear picture, and we got to see a full body.
Yeah.
So, don't go crazy picking up bugs either, because some of them bite. I was looking, I have wheel bugs. Have you seen them?
I don't think so.
So they're pretty cool. And they're a type of assassin bug. So they go by and they eat all of, not all, but they eat a lot of the bad ones. So I have aphids, I've been treating them, but then also I have ladybugs and wheelbugs. So they're getting a little meal, and but the wheelbug bites, and it hurts. Apparently, I haven't been bitten because I don't touch. I practice a no touch, on mine. But so, anyways, that's what I got.
Yeah, that one's a pretty interesting one. I think mine, and I want to say my biggest mistake for the last one, for me, and this is one I know we share, I'm going to always purchase something for my garden, like something to plant, right? I hope there is one day where all of my vegetable plants I'm starting, but whether it's a vegetable plant or probably a flower, I'm going to buy something. And this is another, your eyes are too big for your stomach. So my mistake is loading up my car with a bunch of beautiful things and being exhausted by the time that, kind of that moment comes and goes. I unload the car and they're sitting in my hot garage or on my hot deck for days before I plant them. So that's also a not necessarily having a plan either, which I generally like, kind of, being, a renegade of sorts around it, but it's a waste of money if you can't get those things into the ground. A lot of those things, flower wise, are resilient. So even if they start to kind of, fade a bit, if you get it in the ground, you can probably bring it back. But, it becomes this stressor. Like, it was such joy when I was buying it. And then it turns into this thing where, I'm walking in the kitchen like, shit, it's still out there, huh? I got a whole pile of plants and they look beautiful that first day, and then you start to see, day 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So a thing, and I've done pretty well with this over the last couple of years. Having a place in mind where you're going to put it, right? Making those trips to the store shorter, so you really feel good about getting home and planting
multiple
them.
Trips too.
Yeah.
Just do the multiple trips. Call it a day.
Forget. I know gas is high. I filled up this morning, good Lord. But it's going to save you some trouble in the longer run, right?
Hey, at least you can find gas.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we don't have gas here.
Oh, well.
There is none.
Sorry about that, but.
Yeah, that's okay. No, it's, so last year, I think one plant died that way. And this year, I'm up to none.
Oh, good for you.
So I'm doing good. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, it's hard. Because it's so easy to buy 15, 20 plants, but then you got to go home and plant 15, 20 plants,
Yeah.
So I tried to do it in batches. Like, I did my containers at once so I could, like, sit down and do them. And then I did, like, this bed first, and then I'd go do this bed. And now I'm at the point where I'm, like, filling in little pieces and parts. So it's, like, a little bit scattered, but I'm spreading it out. Yeah. So,
and I do make multiple trips, and I am able to practice a little bit of discipline, so I'm making multiple trips. I may go and pick up, I don't know, a pair of garden shears or something. And I do a lap around the garden center to see the flowers. Let's talk about those. And I'm in my mind saying, oh, I can put this there. But I'm not ready to put it into the ground, right? So we're recording this just a little bit earlier in May, and we're still getting pretty cold temps here. And so I'm looking and saying, oh, I really do want to add this to my, street side flower bed, but why buy it and then feel like I have to wait another week before I plant it? If I really want it, I'll be back next week and pick it up, when I feel like it's clear to plant. So I do get a lot of my ideas as I kind of, peruse around stores and things. And I have gotten past the point of saying I have to put it in my cart, because the reality is it'll be there when you get back. Or some other store is going to have it, It's like, relax.
Or you just don't get it.
Yeah. Because there's always next year, to be quite frank. There's going to be something else you find that you love just as much that you can put it in its place.
Yeah. And I mean, if you succumb to our maker and you don't get to see it, then you'll just, it's fine. You don't know if you didn't have it, you don't know what you missed.
Yeah, that's not going to be like in my last days, the regret,
Yeah, I didn't get that flower. Damn, I should have got that fuchsia when I was out there and I just didn't. Oh, well, see ya. Beep. Yeah, it's, I I wish there was a statistic about how many plant deaths there are to that because of that. I bet it would be very high because I know in my day, like I have killed a lot and wasted a lot of money.
And there's some embarrassment around that, you know. For me, there is. I don't keep everything alive, and I took a houseplant back last week to the store, right? A lot of stores, big box stores especially, will let you return them. And it was, I mean, he's a kid. He's probably like 19 or something. And so he's like, and it wasn't even to try to make sure that it was, you know, eligible for return. He was just kind of like, how long have you had it? And I was like, listen, you know, like, don't be out here judging me and my ability to keep these things alive, you know. It was one of those itty bitty plants.
Like 4 years I've had it.
Yeah, no, right? Sometimes that is my story. No, I'm out here like, listen, you know, I can't keep everything alive, which is actually, as an aside, a good note. Everything won't thrive in your garden, you know. So there are going to be moments where there's something that just doesn't get to where you want it to get. And it's okay.
That's exactly right. Oh, man, for me, you know, mine was, I don't know, I've got 2 more.
I do too. Hey, look at that.
Look at that. So this one is, you know, it goes around flowers, but it wasn't paying attention to light requirements. Mm-hmm. But that also translates into fall gardens and stuff like that. Not understanding how much light you have. So those kind of 2 go hand in hand in my mind.
Mm-hmm. You mean like planting something that really, really wants shade in a sunny spot?
Yeah, for flowers, and then like same thing in the fall and winter, planting something and then just it being shaded too much. Just not putting it like, oh, I need to put it like 5 feet over this way, and it would have got another 2 hours of sun or something. Yeah. But most importantly, like the flowers and stuff, because I remember I wanted a bleeding heart. And as you know, they thrive in shade, or if you don't know, now you do. They thrive in shade, 2-part shade. And I put it in, we had this one spot and my wife wanted it, you know, Miss Gardner was like, I want this, I want it right here in the spot. And I said, okay. We went and bought it and we put it there, but that bitch got blasted with sun almost all day, all but 2 hours out of the day. And in New England, it didn't get dark until almost 10 o'clock at night in the summertime. So you're talking about all day sun, and it struggled and struggled, never got above like a couple inches. And I didn't understand why. And then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it needs shade, you know? And then on the flip side, I put strawberries in a spot. I wanted to start a strawberry patch, and they were behind 2 big bushes. And I was just like, because there was nothing there, as a big gap in between the bush and the house. I was like, this would be a perfect spot. But it got shaded all the time, so they never really grew. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, one of my favorites are begonias. Every year,
we had this conversation last year.
Yeah, every year I look at them. Every year, and it took until like 3 years ago. This is the conversation we had last year. Like 3 years ago, I found a variety that was sun loving. Right. And generally, it still would probably be more part sun than full sun. But before I found that variety, I got the regular shade begonias and was like, I love them. And I'm going to plant, it's going to be a border around my garden bed, and it's going to be beautiful. And baby, when I tell you, if those plants made it in a week, you know, like completely wasted money, completely wasted time. Again, not looking at or, you know, listening to whatever the tag said or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably a stretch that's not worth, or a, you know, you're trying to push the limits. It's just not worth your time. You know, there are a couple of flowers that I just don't buy because it's really hard for me to find the space that could give them the shade they need. So.
Well, you know, I have the shade garden, so I've tried to put everything in there that's deep shade, because it basically gets shade almost all day. And there's like, and I've noticed that it gets like an hour of sun in the middle of the day. And some of these plants are like deep shade only, no sun. Yeah. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? You know what I mean? And this kind of goes, I mean, we've had conversations about this on the podcast before, but And it's tough because, and then as you see something, you're like, well, I want it here. You know what I mean? This is where I want it. And it doesn't work, and I've taken things out and planted them and moved them and they thrive. I mean, I don't even know what it is. I need to put it out on Instagram because by the way, did you see that Fuck It, I'm a Flower video I did?
Yeah, of course I did because I love it.
You love it? Well, that red flower that I was asking people what it was?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites.
Did you find out?
And I did. I'm going to get the name of it real quick. But that's what I need to put this one out there too, so I can get a name of it as well.
Have you tried have you found the Google image search that I was talking about?
I think that's what this person did. Mm-hmm. I need to know. I just put out there and asked.
Yeah.
Rose Campion.
It sounds like a person's name. It probably was.
May have been. But yeah, so the same thing. I think this is some kind of phlox, but I had it in a sunny spot because I was like, okay, it's going to get 2 feet high. I want it as a border, blah, blah, blah. Never grew. I took it and stuck it in the shade garden and it exploded.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, because I was like, what the hell do they know? They don't know nothing. Shade?
Well, no, you're just, ignoring it because you really want it where you really want it. Well,
no, I was ignorant about it too. I just didn't know. Yeah. It was a little bit of both.
Yeah. All right.
What you got?
So my second to last is not recognizing a plant is invasive.
Oh.
Yeah, man. And it's our favorite, insert peppermint or spearmint. Seeing a plant, this is probably 4 years ago now, seeing a plant, on the shelf and saying, oh, that looks great. I'll add it to my garden. So obviously you can put it in the palm of your hand as far as the size, planting it in the middle of a garden bed or actually in the corner of a garden bed, luckily, right? And then being so excited. So one, not realizing it's invasive, not even realizing that it actually was perennial in my area as well. So one thing about it, if it's invasive, all right, that's one thing. Maybe you have a year where you have to battle it. But since it was also perennial, it just kept coming back. And it was a joy at first, but it was like, I don't want an entire bed of mint.
Oh, it was mint. Yeah.
And so that's one of those things where a quick Google search, a quick, interweb look would have saved me some trouble. I would have planted it someplace else. I would have put it in a container. And so,
for me, it was, I didn't do it. You actually stopped me short. It was morning glories.
Oh, yeah.
You stopped me before I did it. I was going to do it because I was like, I was going to let them grow. And you're like, no, so.
Your house will be covered in morning glories. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
Purple
so
Heart's
beautiful
another
too,
one.
though. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Purple Heart's another one.
I'm not, and maybe it's, I don't know why, but that's actually a fave, and I just can't really buy it though. I see them in the stores, and I've dug them up from like my folks' house before, and I've killed them, but that's a different story. And it's hard for me to actually purchase that plant.
Well, I mean, all you gotta do is drop a leaf on the ground, and it'll take over a whole bed. I mean, I'm serious. Like last year I was trimming because I put it in a pot and it was just taking over the pot. So I was cutting it and throwing it down. And then this year I go and I'm like, shit, it's growing here. So then I went and I took it up and then I went and saw all the places where it had fallen and it was just growing everywhere. So then I had to pull it out of the pot. I just had to take all the soil out and it was nothing but Purple Heart roots.
Yeah, man.
It had just like totally been invasive and taken it over. So
I was just watching this video where this gardener was giving tips around when someone gives you plants, and this is, I think, primarily flowers. So if someone offers you flowers, and like etiquette, and I'm like, damn, there's etiquette. So real quick, one of her notes was, make sure that you understand the plant that this person's offering you. So it's a lot of times people give away like, cuttings, the roots of invasive plants because they're taking over their freaking garden. Are you okay with that? Like, because that's what's going to happen when you plant it yourself. So yeah, that's that battle. It's like having some discipline. There's some things that I really want in my space, but it's just not worth the struggle that I know I'm going to experience later on.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going to fight it, and it's like my mom gave me some Mexican petunias. And it's funny because last fall I was on Facebook, which I hate Facebook, but that's a different story. And there was a lot of Mexican petunias on there for sale for $1 a plant. And I started thinking, and I was like, huh. And there was a lot of, red hot pokers?
I don't know, every flower.
Yeah. Or firecracker or something. And there was a lot of those. And so so then I go to my mom, she's like, yeah, you want some of these Mexican petunias? And they were pretty. So I was like, yeah, I'll take a couple. And as I walked around her yard, I was like, oh, it's invasive. Check. All right, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, like, I have the space where I need stuff to fill in.
Yeah. And so that's interesting that you say that because I have some ground cover that is meant, so plants that spread is a little bit different. It's nuanced. It's a little bit different than plants that are invasive. So years and years ago, the street side flower bed, I started planting in it. And that initially I just wanted all of the flowers, but it's expensive, right? And so before I got on the whole train of I'm going to plant perennials, buying a couple every year, I just felt like the space looked empty. And so I'm like, what can I put in here that will fill it out? So I bought some ground cover, which isn't the cheapest, but it spreads, right? And the easy.
What'd you get?
I don't know the name of it. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it whenever I figure out the name of it. It's two different kinds. One was green and the other was green. And so,
thanks.
Yeah, right. And so it completely spreads. But the thing about that is the roots are so shallow. It's very easy to pluck them, cut them. It's like pruning a bush, right? So I can let it spread as much as I want. If one year some of my flowers die or whatever, like, let that thing go wild. Other years it's like, no, I have more to plant. So yeah, that's one experience. But we know what are some hostas can spread. I don't know that I would consider them invasive.
You just split them and get rid of them pretty easy.
Yeah,
but,
daylilies are another example of.
Daylilies are.
Yeah, they're borderline invasive.
Yeah, I put some creeping Jenny out in my garden one year, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna fill it up. I'll put a lot in there, and it's pretty, but it took over the whole thing. Yeah. But I was able in, a solid afternoon to go out there and rip it up, and now it's something else, and it wasn't that big a deal. But I've definitely done things like that before, so I get it.
Not detrimental, but it's just a little bit more work than I ultimately would want.
Well, and you got to think too, though, invasive can be very bad because what that means is it will naturalize and it will keep growing and growing and growing and take over your natural space and then go beyond your space into somebody else's space.
And along that
it's
way,
uncontrollable.
It's basically choking out other things that you may have planted. Because, I mean, not only is it invasive, it's an invasive bully. Right? It's like, think about it steamrolling what else is in your garden, and that's no good.
Right. Hey, speaking of ground cover there real quick, what is a good sun-loving ground cover?
It's the two plants that I have.
Oh,
the ones
great.
that I don't remember the names of.
Okay. So my final one is loving my garden to death.
Oh, yeah.
That's, where you always got to trim something. You got to water it every day. You got to do this every day. You don't ever just let it sit and be. Yeah. That's, it's a hard thing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, here's your tip of the day. If you don't want to have this problem, get a bigger damn garden so you can spread the love. So, but I mean, I remember I would go out there and I'm like, all right, I'm going to trim my tomato plants and then I'm going to water them, and it's every day, and you just end up stressing them out.
Yeah.
And it suffers. So
yeah,
get a good book about gardening. If you're having this issue, get a good book, don't be, go out there and look at it and all that stuff. But until it starts harvesting, man, you don't really need to be out there doing a whole lot,
I don't have a whole lot to add because I feel like you're picking on me now.
I am not picking on you.
Where you go with that
ridiculous.
sleeping bag, Batavia? Well, I was headed out. Like, what? Like,
Yeah. No.
No, it absolutely is. There's some times of the year where I'm loving on it way too much, and there are other times that I basically need like a breather from all of that love I was getting, and then I become like I'm a little bit absent in the garden, right? So yeah. All right.
But I mean, there's every day, like there's periods where I am going out in the garden in the evening to do something, to take, at one point I had a slug infestation. So I had to get rid of that, and that was just going out and hand picking and setting slug traps and all that stuff. So luckily I don't have slugs here. I don't know how that's possible, but I haven't seen a slug yet. But there's times like that, and then there's times, every morning I do my garden walk. Every morning. I did it in the rain this morning. You can check it out on my Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm loving what you're doing, and you better still be doing it by the time this comes out. Your daily log.
I'm doing my gardener's log, Earth date every day. Somebody actually contacted me. They're like, "Are you a Star Trek fan?" So for the record, no, I am not a Star Trek fan. I am a Star Wars fan. Oh, okay. For the record. You can be one or the other, but I like the campiness and the hokiness of the old Star Trek. That's why I use it.
Or you could be neither like me, but yep.
We need to talk about this. I need to convert you.
No, there's I'm
open
done.
your world to a whole new slew of entertainment.
Okay, thanks though.
Okay.
So my last one is waiting too long to harvest.
Yeah.
So,
so what you're saying is you started your gardening life as a seed producer?
Yeah, clearly. Yeah. Yep. But then got so frustrated because it's like, I can't eat this stuff, and just yank the plant, right? So I've never had that trouble with tomatoes. And I'm not talking about a cucumber that's gotten way too big. Like, I'm not necessarily talking about that. I'm talking about my favorite okra, where it's like, well, shoot, they aren't the size that they normally are in the store. I'll wait. And it's like, oh, you're growing wood pods. Is that what you're doing? Because that's what it's going to be. I've had that with okra. I've had it with beans. I
still do it with okra and beans.
Yeah. With the original, because it's a mistake because I didn't know better. Like, I didn't realize that I should have harvested it a week ago, right? For beans, initially I was like, oh, I'm expecting like you harvest them when there are a bunch of them. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that was my train of thought. And you kept on waiting and not necessarily considering like there's going to be a point where it's just not edible, so. Yeah. And that's,
you want to hear fun?
Wait, that's separate and apart from like not harvesting to produce more. This is just like you've basically wasted whatever that was because no one's going to want to eat it. But go ahead.
Yeah. So last year, Miss Gardner, she's going to kill me. Luckily, I don't think she listens to this, but she fell short on the, because, she does a lot of the canning. And we share, but her job is to clean the produce, put it up, and if needed, can it or freeze it. Well, the green beans are coming fast and furious, and old girl missed a couple. And so I was naturally leaving them on the vine to kind of let her catch up. And then finally I went out and I harvested, I'm talking about a bucket load, and came in and canned them. Well, they're all stringy. So we have like 8 cans of string beans, of canned beans, and everybody's eating. All you hear is all through dinner.
Oh, I know that sound. Yeah.
Everybody's picking them out of their mouth, and I'm like, y'all just keep eating. I'm like, next time you're going to can them on time, aren't you? She's like, what's this got to do with canning? I told her, she's like, I'm going to can them on time. I'm sorry.
Because now you have jars of them, right? Yeah.
Jars of it. Everybody's, it's terrible.
Yeah. So that same thing happened. Luckily, I wasn't canning them. I made this I'll have to look back if I still have the recipe. This great recipe. It was a small batch of green beans. But those green beans were easily a week too old. And, you know, they look good. They were smelling good. I put them on my plate and I'm just like, oh, no. There's strings everywhere. And these beans, they weren't huge beans, which beans normally aren't. Green beans normally aren't. So I couldn't even get around the strings to enjoy the actual beans themselves. Right?
So these are.
It was like, maybe I could pot liquor, maybe? Like, that's all I got.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. And then, the okra thing, it's the same thing every year. So this year, my plan is every time I see an okra, I'm going to pull it. Because by the time you see it, it's almost too big.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've talked about this before, and I know everyone doesn't love okra, but you should. Sometimes 2 times a day isn't even enough.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing where it has a table life, if you will, like a shelf life. Like, you don't have to process them right away. You don't have to eat them right away, but you don't know. It's hard to know if they're bad until you actually cut into it. Yeah. So I've had okra. I've gotten them off the plants, and then they're sitting on my counter. So this is after I learned the lesson, right? Or at least I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, my okra just germinated, so we'll see. But I can tell you that when Sherry was on here, the okra lady, and she was talking about the heavy hitter okra, I don't want to plant the heavy hitter okra.
Oh, the one that comes on strong?
Yeah, I don't want that. I get enough okra. I'm good. Like, I don't want no heavy hitter. I want some light hitter okra. You know what I'm saying? I want lightweight okra.
Yeah, I'd prefer lightweight okra as well.
Yeah. It's rough.
Oh.
So, there you go.
What's that? I think that's 8. Did you guys keep track? I think that's 8 of our mistakes collectively.
It may be. You know what? I got a bonus.
Okay. Wait.
So when I first started gardening, I was using a soaker hose system, and I would leave it on for 3 hours at a time. And they wanted water deeply. And so I would water deeply, and then my whole backyard would be a giant puddle. Oh, no. It was rough, yeah. And I would do it every other day too. I would water deeply and that shit grew. But all the water's just leaking right out of the garden. It was ridiculous. So, I think the moral of the story here is when you get into it, it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to overcome them. Is that you? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think it's the meme that you talked about. Like, you learn from mistakes when things go well in your garden. You feel like everything is going to go. Many people feel like everything's going to go well, and it makes that failure when it comes up. It's a hard pill to swallow, right?
Yeah.
I think the key is to try to bounce back from the mistake. So.
Well, let me ask you this. Are there any of those mistakes that you still make?
Yep.
Yeah.
Overcrowding every day, twice on Sundays.
Yep.
I am pretty good about most of the other ones. I'm still, every now and again, I may not harvest, but that's more of the I didn't get to it. I was pressed for time. I meant to get back to it. Not necessarily like, I thought that thing was still growing and, so. Yeah.
Yeah, I still do. I know I've corrected a lot of those mistakes, but I still overcrowd sometimes. I still love my garden to death sometimes.
Yeah, it's a good note.
Certain parts of it, like if something's like been struggling, then I'll mess with it, and just kind of brutal.
And when you love on it too much and you're messing with it, you actually don't even know for sure what was the resolution. Right? Like, you try so much shit, you're gonna like, well, wait, was it fix number 17 or fix number 12? Right?
So what do I do here? So, but yeah. But look, we have come to the part in the Backyard Gardens podcast where people have heard us talk about food. Now they want to know how to eat food. So, Batavia, give us the recipe of the day.
One more salad before everything goes bad. Before all of your leafy greens bolt. No, actually, this is a strawberry and kale salad. So we know that kale generally is a cool weather vegetable.
You didn't watch my gardener's log today, did you?
I did not.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we going to have a visual of what I'm describing as well?
No, you will not.
Okay. So I've actually been able to grow kale during the summer, and that was just because I didn't know that it really thrives in the spring and the fall. So I hope that that's your experience as well, or if it's not, that you're getting the last of your spring kale harvest. All right, so super duper simple, and I think this is like maybe 3 kale recipes in a row or something, which I enjoy. I love. Because you don't love it so much. All right, we're going to do simple. We're going to have a bunch of kale, I'm going to call a bunch 8 leaves. It's been said. So we're going to do kale. We're going to add feta cheese to it. We're going to do some almonds, so some type of additional protein, or some type of protein period, although there is some protein in kale. I know. Take a bunch of kale, chop it up coarsely. You're going to coarsely. Yeah. What is coarsely?
Wait. Are we having Kobe kale?
Kobe kale. I think so.
Do we massage it first?
So I'm not going to massage it, but just because I'm going to tell you what the dressing is going to be, and because of that,
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you can absolutely massage it. In this case, I'd probably massage it with maybe just a tinge of oil and a little bit of lemon, because you don't want to kind of you don't want these other flavors to kind of contradict the palate that you're going to. So feta cheese, we're actually going to use some mint from our garden. And this is like, the mint's going to be a garnish. We're going to have about, 4 or 5 strawberries per person. We're going to do, and I'm basically making this for one person, the salad, just so you know, so you can double the ingredients. I'm going to make my vinaigrette and I'm going to make some for later as well. So I'm going to do a 1/2 cup of olive oil, a 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to do a teaspoon of honey. If you don't need honey, you can put in maple syrup. That's fine. I'm going to do about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/8 pepper. I'm clearly reading this from a recipe I have here. So you're going to stir that up. You can whisk it. That's going to be your vinaigrette. Place your leaves that have been chopped, previously washed, then chopped. In your plate, I actually like to eat salads in plates or from plates. You're going to sprinkle your feta cheese. You're going to slice up, like in ribbons, if you will, your mint. You can actually sprinkle that on top of the salad. Add your strawberries, as many as you want, really. If you want, you can toast these almonds. I'm not about all that fuss, but it does give a different flavor to it.
Too fancy.
Yeah. So put the toasted almonds or the regular raw almonds onto the salad, and then drizzle it with the vinaigrette, honey vinaigrette. So think sweet. We have the sweet in the dressing. We have the sweet in the strawberries. That's why I didn't want you to spend too much time massaging those greens, because a lot of times you massage with more oil and lemon. So you don't really want to take away from that flavor. So yeah, that's what we got.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. You want to hear a weird fact about me?
Sure.
I eat the greens on the strawberries.
Oh, okay. Is it just, is it just easier to eat the entire thing?
I just popped the whole thing in my mouth.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to.
It seems like something I would do, right?
Yeah, I don't. If it's itty bitty small, I'll do that, because it's like I'm just not going to be out here wasting my time,
It's like eating a strawberry salad.
No, that's not what that is.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I was looking back, and I'm hoping for a better strawberry crop. I do wonder if I should have followed the recommendations of like picking all of the flowers that first year. Yeah. Remember, I was all like, I may not be here next year. I want my strawberries now.
I didn't pick mine.
Yeah, I got strawberries that year. I got strawberries last year, but not many.
I didn't post this yet, but...
there he is. That's a handful of strawberries. 2 handfuls.
Yeah, we got 4 handfuls like that so far.
Yeah,
so.
That's pretty cool.
This is our 3rd year with our strawberry patch. So they say it takes about 3 years, and we're I mean, I say we're loaded down, but
Yeah, I get it.
we're not. We're actually supposed to go strawberry picking today. So we always go strawberry picking so we can make all of our jelly for the whole year.
Yeah.
So we go to a farm in town and do that.
Yeah.
So
quite a lot of strawberries to make all that jelly and jam.
4 gallons. Because old boy likes to eat some damn jelly. What kid doesn't like peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, I mean, especially fresh. Well, you know what I mean when I say fresh, homemade jelly or jam. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we gave him some from a store one day. And he's like, "This tastes weird," and we're like, "Yeah, it's." He's like, "What's different?" And I was like, "I don't know." He was like, "It's not ours, Daddy. We can't eat it." I'm like, "All right, you don't have to be a snob. Like, I got you."
Strawberries are probably like that's a whole nother, our top 10. Like that is one of the worst store-bought fruits or vegetables. Like the strawberry you get from your garden in most cases, because there is the whole, how you've watered impacts it, yada, yada, yada. When you pick the strawberries, yada, yada, yada. Strawberries in the store generally suck.
Well, you want me to give you a tip about picking strawberries?
And from the store?
No, from your garden, like how to get the best flavor.
Okay.
So I water on the 3rd Saturday of every month.
That's it.
And when the moon is in the second quadrant of the left hemisphere of the sky, that's when I get my strawberries.
It's not you. It's just disappointed in myself because I fall for it. It takes me 10 seconds every time to realize, like, I leaned in, like, oh, okay, the 3rd Saturday. Oh, okay. Like, I that's how my mind works. And then
I know.
I hate being a sucker for you and your crap.
Like I'm the king. I'm the Michael Jordan of aggravation.
I'll tell you, there are people that I care about in every facet of my life that do that, and I fall for it every time. It's just I'm a truster. I trust you. I trust that you won't make a fool out of me. I trust that you're not trying to fool me. And clearly, I'm wrong.
Well, I would never make a fool out of you, but I would fool you.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
both.
Yeah. All right, everybody, keep it real. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us. Check us out on all our usual spaces. Correct your mistakes. Make them happen. Pick up a book, read about them. Do what you got to do. And until next time, learn to grow. Grow for change.
See ya.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you want to see what we're up to or just stay up to date on all the announcements regarding the show or anything gardening, then you can follow us on Instagram at Backyard Gardens TV.
We love seeing what you guys are doing, so use hashtag BYG Podcast in your posts, and we'll be sharing your gardens with the Backyard Gardens community.
And check us out on YouTube at Backyard Gardens, where we will post this show, all of our other shows, clips, and then also some gardening tips and just gardening entertainment. And you can see us at our website at backyardgardenstv.com. But that's it for today's show. So help us as we learn to grow and grow for change. And until next time, we'll catch you guys later. We'll call this one a wrap.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.